Hello and welcome back to Women of Worth, the podcast that celebrates the incredible power, resilience, and uniqueness of women everywhere. Today, we're tackling a topic that has the potential to transform your life: the power of self-validation. Let's face it, in a world that constantly tells us to measure our worth by others' approval, whether it's through likes on social media, compliments from co-workers, or validation from friends, it's easy to lose sight of one important truth. Your worth isn't up for debate. You don't need anyone else to tell you that you're enough, because you already are. In this episode, we'll explore why self-validation is a game changer, how relying on external approval can hold you back, and practical strategies to build confidence from within. Plus, you'll hear real-life stories of women who broke free from the approval trap and found the courage to thrive on their own terms. So, grab a notebook, find a cozy spot, and get ready to empower yourself with the tools you need to embrace your value and live authentically. And hey, before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an episode. And we'd love to hear from you. What's one way you've practiced self-validation recently? Let us know in the comments. All right, let's get started and unlock the power of self-validation together.
Welcome to this deep dive, and we're going to be looking into the power of self-validation. We're going to explore why you don't need a cheering section to feel confident and worthy.
That's right.
You know, feeling of waiting for someone else to tell you you're doing a good job. Well, today, we're flipping the script.
Yeah, it's fascinating how we're often conditioned to seek external approval. But the truth is, relying on others to validate us can be like building our self-esteem on shaky ground.
Yeah, okay, so let's break down what self-validation really means. It's more than just giving yourself a pat on the back. It's about recognizing your inherent worth, regardless of what others think. It's about saying, my feelings are valid, opinions matter, I am enough just as I am.
Exactly. It's about shifting from seeking external validation to cultivating a deep sense of self-acceptance and approval that comes from within.
Right, and the sources we've gathered for this deep dive are full of stories about people who were stuck in the trap of seeking external validation, like Lisa, the marketing executive, who was hitting all her targets, but still felt inadequate because her boss wasn't showering her with praise.
Right. Lisa's story, along with Maria's fear of sharing her opinions and Sophie's constant second-guessing, reveals a common thread.
Yeah.
When we rely on external validation, we give away our power. Our self-worth becomes dependent on the whims of others, leaving us feeling insecure and unfulfilled.
Yeah, it's like we're on a constant emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Always chasing that next hit of approval. But what happens when the praise dries up or we receive criticism?
That's where the true power of self-validation shines. It's about building resilience.
Right.
Imagine being able to handle criticism without letting it crush your confidence. Self-validation helps you develop that inner armor.
The research in the Journal of Positive Psychology backs this up. It found that people with strong self-validation skills are less likely to take criticism personally instead of crumbling. They can view it as an opportunity for growth.
What's really interesting is that self-validation isn't just about feeling good. It's also about making better decisions when we trust our own judgment. We're more likely to make choices that align with our values and goals.
Yeah, the source material is packed with stories of people who transformed their lives once they started practicing self-validation. Like Claire, the graphic designer who finally felt empowered to take on those challenging projects she used to shy away from.
Claire's story highlights a crucial point. Self-validation isn't about becoming arrogant, ignoring feedback. It's about recognizing your strengths and trusting your abilities. This newfound confidence allows you to step outside your comfort zone and pursue your passions.
And then there's Rachel,
Okay.
who finally had the courage to pursue her passion for photography, even though it wasn't what her family expected.
Rachel's story is a testament to the liberating power of self-validation. When you validate yourself, you give yourself permission to live authentically. Even if it means going against the grain, you're no longer bound by the need to please others or fit into a mold.
So we've established that self-validation is this incredible superpower that can boost our confidence, resilience, and authenticity. But how do we actually cultivate it? How do we go from seeking external approval to becoming our own internal cheerleaders?
That's where it gets really exciting. The good news is that self-validation is a skill you can develop. There are practical strategies you can incorporate into your daily life to start shifting your mindset and building that inner foundation of self-worth.
I'm all ears. Let's dive into those strategies.
It all starts with a fundamental shift in perspective, acknowledging and accepting your feelings instead of dismissing or judging your emotions. Give yourself permission to feel them fully.
Like Emily, who allowed herself to feel hurt when her friend canceled their plan.
Exactly. It's not about wallowing in negativity, but about honoring your emotional experience. Recognizing and validating your emotions is the first step towards self-understanding and compassion.
So we start by acknowledging our feelings. What's the next step in building this self-validation muscle?
One incredibly powerful technique is reframing negative thoughts. We all have that inner critic that loves to whisper doubts and insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
But instead of letting those thoughts spiral, we can consciously choose to challenge and reframe them.
So instead of beating ourselves up with, I'm not good enough, we can shift to a more empowering thought like, I'm learning and growing, like Olivia did.
Yeah.
After that presentation, that didn't go as planned.
Precisely, by consciously shifting our self-talk, we start to chip away at those ingrained patterns of self-doubt and create space for self-compassion and growth.
Reframing negative thoughts, that's a powerful tool. Reminds me of the saying, change thoughts, change your life. What other strategies can we use to strengthen this self-validation muscle?
One that often gets overlooked is celebrating small wins in our pursuit of big goals. It's easy to forget to acknowledge the small steps along the way, but those little victories, those moments of progress are essential for building self-efficacy and reinforcing our sense of worth.
I can see how that would work. It's like giving ourselves those little bursts of positive reinforcement, reminding ourselves that we are capable and we are moving forward. The source material mentions Julia, who made a point of celebrating, finishing a challenging book. It seems so simple, but I bet it made a difference.
Absolutely. It's about shifting our focus from what we haven't accomplished to what we have. By acknowledging and celebrating those small wins, we create a positive feedback loop that motivates us to keep going.
This is making me realize how much I rely on external validation for those wins.
Yeah.
Getting a project approved, a compliment from a colleague, that's where I usually get that sense of accomplishment.
That's a common experience, but imagine the freedom that comes from being able to validate those wins internally. You're no longer dependent on external circumstances to feel good about your progress.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So we've got acknowledging feelings, reframing negative thoughts, and celebrating small wins. What other tools do we have in this self-validation toolbox?
One that's absolutely crucial is setting healthy boundaries.
Okay.
It's about recognizing your limits and having the courage to say no when something doesn't align with your values or priorities.
Like Hannah, who politely declined that volunteer role because it didn't fit with her current goals. It's so easy to get caught up in people-pleasing, but I can see how saying no can be an act of self-respect.
Exactly. It's about honoring your needs and recognizing that your time and energy are valuable when you set boundaries. You're essentially saying, I value myself enough to protect my well-being.
And that sense of self-respect is a key ingredient in building genuine confidence, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of building confidence, affirmations are a powerful tool. They might seem a bit woo-woo at first, but there's actually a scientific basis for their effectiveness.
Oh, do tell. I'm intrigued.
Research in neuroplasticity has shown that repeating positive affirmations can actually rewire our brain's neural pathways.
Wow.
By consciously choosing the thoughts we focus on, we can weaken those negative self-critical pathways and strengthen the pathways associated with self-compassion and self-belief.
So those little phrases like, I am worthy or I am capable aren't just feel-good mantras.
Right.
They're actually changing the physical structure of our brains. It's amazing. I remember the source material mentioned Laura, who started her day with affirmations.
Okay.
What kind of impact did that have on her?
Laura found that starting her day with affirmations helped her approach challenges with a more positive and confident mindset. It's like setting the tone for the day, choosing to focus on your strengths and potential rather than dwelling on your doubts.
I love that it's like priming your brain for success. So we've talked about acknowledging feelings, reframing negative thoughts, celebrating small wins, setting boundaries, and using affirmations. Are there any other key strategies for cultivating self-validation?
One that's essential for self-awareness and growth is self-reflection. Taking time to pause and reflect on your experiences, your thoughts and your emotions can provide valuable insights into your values, your strengths, and your areas for growth.
The source material highlighted Rachel, who found resilience by reflecting on her ability to manage both a demanding career and a busy family life. It seems like self-reflection can help us connect with our inner strength and resourcefulness.
Exactly. It's about recognizing what you've overcome, what you've learned, and what you're capable of. This can be especially powerful when you're facing self-doubt or challenges. Journaling, meditation, or simply taking a few moments for quiet contemplation can all be valuable forms of self-reflection.
Right. I can see how all of these strategies work together to build a strong foundation of self-validation. But let's be real. We live in a world that often bombards us with messages that undermine our self-worth. Social media, advertising, societal expectations. They all play a role in shaping how we view ourselves. How can we navigate these external influences while staying true to ourselves?
That's a crucial point. One strategy that can be incredibly empowering is consciously choosing to limit your exposure to those external influences that tend to trigger self-doubt or comparison.
The source mentioned Sarah, who swapped scrolling through social media for hobbies that boosted her self-esteem, like painting and gardening. It seems like it's about consciously curating your mental and emotional diet, feeding your mind with things that nourish you rather than deplete you.
Exactly. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, but about being mindful of what you allow into your mental space. Choose to engage with content, people, and activities that uplift you and support your self-worth.
This is all making so much sense. It's like we're building a fortress of self-validation, brick by brick, to protect ourselves from the constant barrage of external pressures.
And that fortress isn't just about protection, it's about empowerment. When you're grounded in self-validation, you're free to pursue your passions, express your authentic self, and navigate the world with confidence and resilience.
It's incredible to think that all these seemingly small everyday practices can add up to such a profound shift in how we view ourselves and interact with the world.
It's true, and the beauty of it is that self-validation is an ongoing journey. There's no finish line. It's about continually learning, growing, and deepening that connection with yourself.
All this talk of self-validation has me thinking about the science behind it. Are there actual studies that show how it impacts our well-being?
Absolutely. Research in the Journal of Behavioral Therapy found that self-validation can reduce anxiety and improve decision-making skills. It even activates the brain's reward center, reinforcing those positive behaviors and making us more resilient.
That's fascinating. So self-validation isn't just a feel-good concept. It has tangible benefits for our mental and emotional health.
And it's not just about individual well-being. The source material highlights Megan, the teacher, who found such strength through self-validation that she started mentoring others to do the same.
That's a beautiful ripple effect. It shows how empowering ourselves can empower those around us.
It's true. When we radiate confidence and self-acceptance, we create a more positive and supportive environment for everyone.
So we've explored a range of strategies for cultivating self-validation, from acknowledging our feelings to setting boundaries to practicing affirmations and self-reflection. But I'm curious, are there any specific daily practices that you find particularly helpful for staying grounded in self-validation?
That's a great question. I think the key is to find what works best for you and to weave those practices into your daily routine.
I like that it's about creating a personalized self-validation toolkit.
Exactly. For some people, it might be starting the day with a few minutes of gratitude journaling, reflecting on the things they're thankful for others. It might be taking a mindful walk in nature, connecting with the present moment, and appreciating the beauty around them.
The source material gave some great examples of this, like Claire's simple gratitude list for finishing a report and helping a friend, and Olivia, who celebrated her progress by taking a break for coffee after finishing a chapter of her book.
It's about finding those little rituals that nourish you and remind you of your worth. And it's not just about adding things to your routine. It's also about subtracting things that drain your energy or trigger self-doubt.
Like limiting social media, which we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices about how you spend your time and energy, prioritizing activities and relationships that uplift you and support your growth.
I think the key takeaway here is that self-validation isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery and self-care.
Absolutely. It's about cultivating a deep and unwavering belief in yourself, even when faced with challenges or setbacks.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I'm already feeling more inspired and empowered just by talking about these strategies. But before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on one more question. For our listeners, what's one concrete step they can take today to start practicing self-validation?
It can be as simple as becoming aware of the moments when you seek external approval. Next time you catch yourself fishing for compliments or feeling deflated by someone's criticism, pause. Ask yourself, what would it look like to validate myself in this moment? What do I think about this situation?
That's a powerful suggestion. It's about bringing that awareness to those automatic reactions we might not even realize we're having.
Right. And it's important to remember that self-validation is a journey, not a destination. It's not about achieving some perfect state of unwavering self-belief. It's about consistently choosing to show up for yourself with kindness and compassion, even when you stumble.
And like any skill, it takes practice.
Yes.
The more we practice self-validation, the stronger that muscle becomes and the more resilient we become in the face of challenges.
Exactly. And here's a final thought for our listeners to ponder. If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice about self-validation, what would it be? What wisdom have you gained on your own journey that you wish you'd known sooner?
That's a beautiful and thought-provoking question. It's a reminder that self-validation is a lifelong process of learning and growth.
Remember, you are worthy of love and acceptance, just as you are. Your value comes from within, not from external sources.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the power of self-validation. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and tools to start cultivating this empowering practice in your own life.
Until next time, be kind to yourself. Trust your inner wisdom and keep believing in your own incredible potential.